Okay, let's start. So my name is Prashant. I am a technical lead at Apistory Consulting Services. I'm a 10-time Salesforce certified and community group leader. So you can follow me on Twitter at PUPVardhan4, where I'll be tweeting about different tasks. Probably I'll be sharing about articles on Pardot and marketing tool. Not only that, I'll be sharing on Salesforce development as well. You can always reach out to me on Twitter if you have any questions, or even on LinkedIn. And once again, thank you all for joining today. And then this is the agenda that I am thinking I'm planning to speak about. So initial of the deck, we'll be speaking about segmentation and personalization, and then later we'll be speaking about lead qualifications and lead management process. How can you automate these things? And then in the third point, we'll be speaking about different best practices of automations inside Pardot. Later, we'll be wrapping up with few resources that I'll be sharing along with the deck, and then we'll just have a Q&A session if anybody have got questions regarding the topics that we were discussing. And finally, we'll have quiz. We have a couple of vouchers that we are planning to give away. So we have two questions and then two vouchers for two vouchers. So I hope everybody will stay till the end. Okay. So let's talk about first segmentation and personalization. Why segmentation matters and why personalization matters inside Pardot. Because since it's a marketing tool, every prospect tends to be, they would like to have a personalized email content inside the marketing emails. The better the personalized content, that's how the effective the emails will look like for the prospects. And the better the personalized content, the more the click rate upon the emails as well. So that shows how marketer is concentrating on a specific prospect as well through his marketing campaigns. And then the segmentation. So in this segmentation, why segmentation matters is because you cannot just blast the entire email of what you were just preparing to entire prospect list in your system. You need to segment it on the basis of countries. You need to segment it on the basis of products that they are interested in, and probably sometimes on the basis of score also you can always segment and trigger out the emails. So segmentation is one of the key factors inside marketing because the better the segmentation processes and the better the email personalization will help the prospects to implement them to get into the marketing tool as well. And then the segmentation you can always do, as I already told earlier, you can always do in the basis of location, you can always do on the basis of industry as well. So where does this segmentation can come into picture? It can also come into picture for form submissions. If at all you're doing some email engagement activities, you can also do that over there. And then probably if at all you're just trying to map the CRM fields with Pardot, right, and then source the data from the CRM and merge them or segment them into different lists, right? That's where this segmentation also comes into picture. So one of the example or the use case that I just mentioned on the deck was segmenting or separating the prospects based on the different industries. You cannot always trigger healthcare industry related emails to different other industries like media or retail industry prospects. So you will have to target the audience based on the respective industries so that they don't get annoyed with the emails or with the blast that you do over the period of time as well. And then the personalization. So what do you mean by personalization? So whenever you receive some emails, right, probably you might have noticed in the subject line or else in during the first part of the email that says hi and your name, or probably hi Prashant, as such. Okay, so that's where this personalization will come into picture. So it will be so how does this personalization act is it tries to target the audience, okay, and then target the prospect directly and address him with his name, or probably address him with his feed product that he's very much interested in as well. So these personalizations might be different types. It's not only using a merge fields to target the prospects on the basis of the prospect fields, or else you can also have a dynamic content as well in the email templates or on the landing pages or probably on the forms or you know in the subject lines of email templates as well. So where what is this dynamic content? So for example, take this as an example. So you have different you have your company. NTO is a company, and then it is in different countries across the world, probably US and then Europe and in India. So now they would like to target or else blast an email. Okay. And then they would like to say that this specific product is only for limited to US, and there are specific products that are limited to only different countries. And then now they do not want to create multiple email templates. Instead, they would like to have a unified template and then vary these product interests on the basis of regions, or probably vary this product interest on the basis of the prospects directly. So that's where this dynamic contents will come into picture. And then this dynamic variations, right, on the basis of product of interest of the prospect, it will start varying and deliver the content or deliver the email to the prospect's mailbox directly. So and then it can also be helpful in ABM based strategy, where campaign is tailored according to the prospects uh, you know uh, in information or prospect information on the prospect detail page as well. So I'll just quickly share my screen and even show how you can do it inside Pardot as a quick demo. I hope you can see my screen, right? uh, okay. Okay. So you do have, as I was speaking about segmentation, right? So there are different ways to segment a particular prospect information inside Pardot. So one is segmentation rules. The other is using the automation rules to segment into static lists, or else using a dynamic list to segment the prospects. So I'll be just going one by one. So how do you segment? What is the segmentation rule ideally? So segmentation rule is an automation that runs only once. So take this as an example. You have some 10,000 prospects, and you would like to segment these 10,000 prospects on the basis of the industry. Okay. So you would like to say, hey, prospect industry field equal to health industry. You would like to segment it in a one go, and then you would like to blast off the email right away, right? So in that scenario, what you do is you start first, because it's a one time activity that you would like to do. You can just come over here and create a segmentation rule. So this segmentation rule will ideally be will be helpful in segmenting the entire prospects on the basis of health industry. So all you need to do is, as a dynamic list itself, you just need to first apply the segmentation rules. Okay. So making sure that they match the specific criteria of the prospect. So for example, if I'm just saying prospect default field, okay, and then say industry, right? Sorry, industry, right? And I say is health. If that is the value that I'm trying to capture at the prospect default field, right? So what I want to do, I just want him to add list, okay, or else add prospect to a list. So I just go there and I choose a specific list, and then I just say, if any prospects information, or else if any prospects industry matches with health, then just add him into the specific list. Now I have the ability to preview and then just click on run segmentation. The moment I just click on run segmentation, right? So what the segmentation rule does, it will just try to capture or bring back all the 10,000 prospects, and then starts validating each of the prospect with the criteria, and then tries to add it into the list. So this is not a continuous process. The moment you just click on run segmentation, it will just do with the prospects that are available in the system. So if you have just 10,000 prospects, by the time you're running this segmentation rule, only the 10,000 prospects will be segmented according to this particular criteria. So post the segmentation rule, if there is any new prospect that is getting added into this particular Pardot or else your environment, that will not pass through the segmentation rule. So that's why this is called a one-time rule of the automation process. So yeah. So the other thing is called segmentation list. right? So you do know like where do we use list and why do we use list. So we use list to make sure that we add prospects into this, and then to trigger out the emails, right? So there are two types of lists, ideally the static list and a dynamic list. So static list is a list where you can manually add prospects into it, and then you can group the prospects into a list, and then you can just blast the email or shoot out the email to the respective batch of prospects, right? And then you can just manually add. If at all you would like to add any new prospect that is coming at a later point of time to this particular list, you can always come and add it into the list. But what about dynamic list? So dynamic list is, as the name suggests, it's a dynamic in nature. So you will have to specify a rule category, and then based on the rule criterias, it just matches the available prospects, and then it will just add it into the list. What is the difference between segmentation rule and a dynamic list? Because both of them are having criterias. It's because dynamic lists run 24 by 7 365. That means as long as you pause, or you as long as you delete that specific dynamic list, it keeps on running. So whenever a specific criteria matches, it just adds into that specific list. So yeah, let's just go and create how to create a static list, and how do you create a dynamic list. Okay, so I'm just going into the segmentation tab, and I'm just clicking static list. Okay, I am currently organizing them in an uncategorized folder, and you have multiple checkboxes over here where you are just noticing whether this is an email only test list, because if that is an email test list, then you cannot use it for blasting out the emails. Okay, for generalized prospects, this have to be used only for specific testing purposes, while you before you trigger out to the prospects. Okay, and this is where you choose whether this list has to be a static or a dynamic list. Okay, so since we are going initially with static list, let's just fill out the rest of the information. So this is where you just have to choose the archive date. So probably if at all you would like to archive this at a later point of time, and you do not need to forget, or you do not need to come back and do this kind of stuff, right? So you can automatically set the archive date, and when the specific archive date will be reached, automatically this gets archived into the system, inside the system. So the other two parts are public list and the CRM visible. Where do this public list checkbox will help is in the preference center. So whenever you receive an email, you might have observed at the ending of the email that there are two options: unsubscribe or else preference page. So this is where this public list checkbox will come into picture. If at all you would like to unsubscribe from a specific list, right? I do not want. So for example, there are two types of lists. One is automobiles, and the second is mobile phones or smartphones. And Prashant is part of both mobile phones as well as the automobiles list. Now I do not want to receive any emails regarding automobiles, but I would still like to continue receiving emails from the smartphones category. So that is where this public list will come into picture, and it will help the prospects to decide which type of content they would like to receive in their mailboxes. And then there is CRM visible, which is useful basically for the sales team. If at all they would like to add any new prospects into into a static list, then the CRM visible checkbox will be helpful. So I'm just trying to create one static list now. So this is where this is how you create a static list. And then if at all you would like to add prospects to the list, you just go to a specific prospect. Okay, and then just try to add them into the list. So I'm just trying to add one of the prospects into the list. You can just see. So I go to a specific prospect, I go to the list, and just search for one of the lists. Oh sorry, I and then I just add him into the list over here. Okay, so this is how a static list works, and how this is how you segment using static list as well. Now let's go and see how do you segment list using dynamic list. So again, you go to the segmentation tab, you just click on add list and say, hey, this is my dynamic list, right? And then the only option that you would be choosing will be this, because once I check this checkbox, the public and CRM visible will be automatically disabled. Okay, and then you can just click on set rules. Okay, so this is where you define the criteria for a dynamic list. So probably you will say um, prospect default field, industry, contains some media, right? And then you might say match all, or you might just say match any, or you can just create a rule group as well, and then just preview it and then run the rules automatically. All the prospects will start matching the criteria. Any of the prospect which matches the criteria will be added into the specific dynamic list. The other prospects which are not matching criteria will not be added into the dynamic list. But at a later point of time, if any of the unmatched criteria or else unmatched prospect is matching with the criteria of the dynamic list, it will automatically get added into the dynamic list. So that's how you use the static and dynamic list. But the other way around of segmenting the prospects is through automation rules. So this is where you can also create an automation rule and associate the automation rule with a static list. Okay, so this is how we automate the things. Sorry, this is how we automate the static list as well. So I'm just saying automate the list. Okay, and I start defining the criteria again. So I can say, prospect default field. Again, I'm just using the same industry field again and again. So you can just say is, you know, again like health or so. So now I'll have the actions that needs to be performed by the automation rule. So I'll just say add prospect to list. Okay. So this is how I can automate the static list or segment the static list as well inside Pardot. Okay. So any questions till now? Okay. So I take it as a no. So then comes the dynamic content I was speaking of. So how can you create a dynamic content? So inside marketing, so we do have content management system, and that is where this dynamic content is available. So you can create multiple variations for a specific paragraph or probably a image as well. So for example, if it is women, and I'm just trying to blast an email, women are more interested towards shopping, right? So I can just display them the content related to shopping for women. Okay, and then if it is a gender on the basis of men, right? Men are basically interested towards more and more gadgets. So I can just say inside the shopping itself, I can just display them few images of smartphones or probably smartwatches or whatnot. So you will have to first use a dynamic content. For that you'll have to use create a dynamic content. Okay, and then you will have to first set up the default content. Why do you need to set a default content is because at some times the marketers might not fill the information of the gender or else probably some other criteria as well inside the prospect detail page. Not only speaking about gender, it might be some other drop down values as well in that specific criteria. So Pardot has to, or else the automation inside Pardot has to know what content has to be triggered out if there is no value in that specific field. So that is where this default variation will come into picture, and it will replace the other variations which are not matching. Ideally the unmatched criteria of the specific field will be replaced with the default content. So you have the ability to add multiple criterias as well. So here is where we are just using score as a filter to display, but then you can use different things like a country or department or industry, and all the standard and the custom fields will be available over here. And based on a specific field you can always have a different variation and then display them and use them in the landing pages or probably in the email templates also. I'll be sharing this deck, so there is a resource down below. You can watch. You can just click on it and view more information at a later point of time. So the next part that will be speaking about is lead qualification and lead management. So what is lead qualification and what is lead management? So this will help to bridge the gap between sales and marketing teams ideally. uh, because lead qualification is very much important. Otherwise the sales team will keep on nudging the prospects who are not ideally interested prospects in our products. So to make sure that we reduce these gaps. We use the lead qualification module. So lead qualification module basically will contains a few things, that is lead scoring, and then scoring categories, and as well lead grading. Okay, so these are all built in, which is available from the basic versions of Pardot. So lead scoring will typically will add points to the prospect. Okay, and then based on the prospects activity, or based on the prospects performance with the marketing campaigns that are run by the marketers, Pardot will automatically start scoring the prospects as well. So based on this, you can write an automation rule to send this when it reached a specific criteria or a specific threshold of the points, right? You can always send the prospect to CRM. So if you do not want to sync the entire prospect database with the CRM, you have the ability to do in this way. And also based on specific scores, or based on the grade as well, you can run multiple email campaigns. Probably with the people who are having low scores, you would like to nurture them more and more. So in that specific area, you can just say, hey, lead score less than 500 or so, then just trigger out, you can just build an engagement journey and say, hey, lead score less than 500, make sure that he passes through this journey. You can use the dynamic list or else a segmentation rule for a one time activity, and then add those lists into the engagement journey and trigger out the emails. Okay, so that is how the lead qualification and lead management is will help the marketers to decide which prospect is a valid prospect, or which prospect is the important prospect. And let me show you even that how it looks like inside the system. So whenever I go to one of the prospects, right? So I have the ability to view their scores. Okay, so this is one of the prospect, which is having multiple activities. So you should be noticing that there are two parameters over here called lead scores and lead grades. Okay, so lead scores, as I already uh, told, right? So it will be automatically scored on the basis of the activities performed by the respective prospect. So if at all he's opening an email, or if at all he's clicking on a landing page and viewing, or else if at all he's filling out a form or completing the form, or probably this particular prospect, or else the sales team has converted this particular lead into an opportunity. And based on that as well, on the basis of opportunity as well, you can always assign him more points. This shows how active the prospect is with your mailing system. You can always trigger out and such prospects are very important, so that you could gain feedback from them, and then improve the marketing campaigns as well. So this is where the lead scoring will help the sales team to identify, or evaluate the best leads and work on them. And then there is the grading category. So Pardot by default has got these grades from A to F, and default grading is obviously D. And based on the performance and of the prospect, the grades can be automated and varied from A to F. So you will have to set up these grades as well inside the Pardot platform. So to do that, first thing that you need to do is you will have to go to a specific profiles, and then create the profiles for the prospects. So for example, I have couple of profiles over here which says marketing cloud, and then sales application, and then default profile. So by default, Pardot gives you a default profile, and all the prospects are associated with the default profile by default. But if at all you would like to associate with them, with other profiles, right? You can always you will have to write an automation rule to associate with them with the different profiles. For example, let me just create one of the grading profile, and then write an automation rule to associate them with the specific grade as well. So when I just go click on add profile, right, I'll have couple of options that I need to fill out the information for. If I'm just saying this is grading of, I'm just going to name something like this, and then I'm just saying, hey, criteria is industry, right, or else employee count. Okay, and there will be three sections over here. It is 1 by 3, 2 by 3, or 1. So one third of a letter, or two-third of a letter, or 1. That means a, if a is a letter, so ideally a minus will be the one third, a will be the two third, and a plus will be the 1. Okay, parameter over here. So if at all I just want to say employee count, I just want to give him 1. Okay, and then I might have multiple criterias like this, and say industry, I would just say two-third. Okay, I'm just trying to create a profile now. So the moment you create a profile, right, you can always go to a specific prospect, and this is a manual process. Okay, and then open any one of the prospects. Okay, probably this one. Okay, and edit this specific prospect, and come down over here where you can see profile, right, and then choose the respective profile over here. The once you choose the specific profile, right, let me associate him with a specific campaign as well. And once you associate the prospect with the profile, ideally automatically the grade will not populate over here, right? So you will have to go to the profile section on the top. Okay, and say, oh, yeah, this guy is matching it. And probably if this is not matching also, or I'm just saying, hey, yeah, this is also matching. So now I can just go to overview section. Okay, and then scroll down, and you can see the grades are populating. But this is a manual way on how you can grade a prospect. But what is the other way around? So you'll have to, once you create a profiles, right, you will have to go over to the automation rules and start writing an automation rule as well. So I'm just trying to name it. Okay, and I'll just say prospect. If when do you want the profile to be associated, and the grades to be associated? So I'm just trying to write a specific criteria over here. So I'm just saying prospect default field. Okay, and employees greater than some 300. Okay, and then I'm just saying match all. So I want even one more category as well, something like an industry, and I say prospect industry is some health. Okay, so now what is the action that you need to say? So first thing, I'll just say prospect profile. I'll be changing the profile, and just changing the profile will not provide the grades. Okay, because I have, as I've already showcased it, right, so you need to go to the again into the profile section, and make sure that you need to make sure that it matches the criteria of the profile as well, right? So to that happen, to make sure that it also gets automated, so we do have an option called change profile criteria. Okay, the once you click on it, so and choose the respective profile, you will have the criterias that we have just set up. It might be employee count or industry. So I'm just saying, yeah, it does matches. Okay, and then in this other way around, you'll have to fill out the other criteria as well, right? So I just again go to change profile criteria, choose the respective profile, and then industry, and I can just say whether it matches or it doesn't matches, right? That means like thumbs up or thumbs down, or else not known, right? So you have that options over here, and you just need to make sure that because such grading is a continuous process, you will have to make sure that you need to repeat this rule again and again. And you can also specify within how many days you would like to make sure that the prospect, once it is matched, how many days before again it should be matched again, right? So you have the ability to say the and then you can just say allow unlimited matches, because grading is a continuous process. And once you just go and create this automation rule, and run this automation rule, right, any prospects that are matching the specific criteria. Okay, so any prospect that matches the specific criteria, right, automatically the profile will be changed, and the grading parameters also will be matched as well. And then, yeah, and then we are almost over here. So we have some best practices that I've framed up over here. So what are the automation best practices? So it's always best to have advanced dynamic content on website and emails, And do note that advanced dynamic content is only available in plus and above editions. It's not available on the growth editions. And again, as I told, right, you can use dynamic lesson segmentation rules for reporting as well, because these are the list that's where you maximum segmentation happens as well. So you can always retarget your prospects. For example, if a particular prospect is going out of line, that means like there is not much activity. So probably you can retarget your prospects with fresh content, and then trigger out the emails, or probably target him with some other information as well by triggering out some discounted coupons or so. And then scoring categories will definitely tell you a story. So what is the difference between a score and a scoring category? So probably, if at all you have multiple products, right? Again, take the example of a mobile phones, or automobiles also. So you can define scoring category for mobile phones, you can define different scoring category for automobiles. Score is again different, and scoring categories are quite different. You can have multiple scoring categories associated, okay, and then say, hey, in automobile scoring, so this is his score in the automobile category, this is his score in um, a smartphone category, and then you can just mention that the overall score as well. And because of this scoring categories, you can also specify where the prospect is more interested in, whether he is more interested in automobiles, or whether he is more interested in the smartphone product, right? So that's where scoring categories will definitely help you. That's where it creates a story for you as well. And you can also use dependent form fields, okay. Not You don't require all the prospects to fill out some 10 to 15 fields on your form, right? So based on the choices that they make, you can always use these dependent fields on the forms, and then vary the create a kind of variations. If he selects yes on a specific drop down, you might want to display why yes, right? You want to capture that information, you can do that as well. And whenever you want to do some renewals, right? Take this as an example. So if a person has been opted out from all of your communication, and he wants to opt in again at a later point of time, you definitely use automation rules to do so, right? So you can always use an automation rule to for renewal process and all the kind of stuff. Okay, so let's again go to a hands-on, where we'll be just creating a dependent form fields. Okay, so what I'll be doing, I'll just uh, go to a particular form. I'll just try to edit that form. Okay, and then go into the field section. Okay, and then I'll just open one of the field and just say, hey, dependent. Okay, and then once I click on dependent tab, right, so I'll be able to say if this value is equal to so and so, I would like to show or display some other field as well. That's how I'll be doing this right now. So let's go and do that as well. Okay. So let me go to the forms. Okay. So I have a couple of forms over here. Let's go to one of the form. Okay. And I'm just trying to edit the form. Okay. So I'll just go to the field section on the top. Okay, so based on the objective or some other fields, right, I just want to display some other field. Okay, so I'll just click on this and say, um, how much does this have? Enable list volumes. So okay, so I can just say dependent. Okay, and say when this field, oh yeah, sorry, let me just say smartphones. Okay, so now I just say if field is equal to demo, then I would like to display some description. Okay, so let me just find the description field or some other field. Okay, so NPS comments also. Okay, and then I just like to save the change. Okay, so I have these two now. Let me rearrange them. Okay, and then confirm. Okay, so let me open the link as well. Okay, so you can see right now there is no NPS comments, right? So the moment I click on demo, my NPS comments field is visible, and it is now mandatory as well. So that's how you can use dependent fields to automate inside the form as well, so that you're just trying to um, make sure that not all fields are important for every prospect. Only on a specific criteria, or when a field matches the specific criteria, that's where you're trying to display the fields as well. Okay, so any questions till now? Oh yeah, so there are a lot. Okay, is there any limit for the list? So there is no limit for the list as such. Okay, so as long as your Pardot database supports. So for example, if at all you have 10,000 prospects, right? So if your database limit is 10,000, that's where you can just have 10,000 active or mailable prospects. Can we create two automation rules with the same rules? We can create two automation rules with the same rules, but there is no point to have as such, ideally, and that's not a best practice as well, because if the criteria is the same, then we don't need to create multiple automation rules with the same criteria. But yeah, we can always do that. Pardot has got that capability. Okay, thanks Neha, you have answered so many. Yeah, but see, if at all you would like to perform different actions, you can always do it in a single automation rule. Okay, for example, I'm over here, let me just delete them. Okay, so if I'm just going to any of the automation rules, right? So why do I need to have? Because the actions can be performed in a one go. There is no criteria for the actions to happen over here. You can always add multiple actions in a one go, and then make sure if the rules are matching, you can just perform actions in a one automation rule. So you do not need to have multiple automation rules on that. Absolutely, you can always create signatures as well on the basis of countries. So yeah, you can also do that. Once you create an this dynamic content, right? You will have to just go to the users, okay, and then just open any one of the user. Okay, edit the user. So you will be having your HTML email signature, right? So this is where you'll be able to use dynamic content. Okay, so you can use the dynamic content directly from here. So you can just use the dynamic content based on the variation that you're defining in the dynamic content. The email signatures also vary. Okay, so how about the sender in sending section in the email template? No, absolutely not. You cannot you cannot use dynamic content for sending options, right? So that's where we can't make it dynamic. You can't just say, hey, if it is for India, use Prashant. If it is for US, use someone else. It's not something that you can achieve in an email template. You can only define either as a general user, or else either assigned user, or else account owner. Okay, these are all the options that you can have, but you cannot use dynamic content to define to use it in the sending options. Okay, but then if Prashant wants to have different email signatures, okay, and you're trying to send using Prashant's email inside Pardot as a sender as a Prashant, you would like to add sender as a Prashant. That's where you can create a dynamic content and specify if it is US, you would like to have a different signature for Prashant over there. Okay, so that's how you can make the things happen. Okay, any other questions? Okay, So probably, right, you can just let me know what automation option were you more excited in the chat section. Like otherwise, we have one more question. How are you using automation rules? So how are you using automation rules in your day-to-day life, or else in the marketing tool? How are you doing that? So, uh, my favorite automation option is ideally the dynamic rules, in fact. Okay. And, segmentation rules as well, because it's a one time activity. And if at all I would like to blast an email within an hour or so, and my template is ready, or else within 5 to 10 minutes or so, I just create a segmentation rule and segment the entire prospects, okay, based on a specific criteria, and use that list into the email template and trigger it out. And then why dynamic list is one of my favorite. In the You might have noticed that in the engagement journeys, right, you cannot use opportunity stages. So for that to happen, you either have to use automation rules or dynamic list. So I prefer dynamic list, because if a particular prospect's opportunities state changes, he will be automatically removed from the list. I do not need to write one more automation rule for that to happen. That's why I like the dynamic list a lot in that specific category. Any other people who? Yeah, that's also one good way to use the dynamic list. Great. Okay, so I do have few takeaways. I just summarize them over here. So database segmentation is always a key to a personalized marketing experience. Okay, scoring and grading will help marketers pass hot leads to sales, where sales team would not lose much of their time. Okay, and then Pardot automation tools will obviously reduce your manual load. If there are renewals happening for your subscriptions also, you do not need to always come and check all the time for each of the prospect. So Pardot automation tools will automatically help and send out reminder emails, or probably link with a subscription link again to renew the subscription. So that's where Pardot automation tools will help to do that as well. So we have couple of resources as well. Okay, so I'll be sharing the deck with you. So there is the trailhead modules that you can complete on this specific section as well. And then we have our Trailblazer community group, where you can always join and then discuss about the things. I've even associated help and training articles over here. And then there are a couple of accelerator regarding automation tools as well. You can just go and check about that. Okay, so any other questions other than the stuff? Okay, so yeah, so we can just go into the quiz then.